Ladies and gentlemen,
Hey, kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hairless News. Kia ora, Chewy, my hairless friend.
Hairless, like a dolphin.
Yeah, very loud now. It's very loud now.
That's very loud. That's too much.
You are peaking significantly. You are too hot in both ways, as my kids would say.
You told me to do it.
We were getting it right. We're getting it right.
Mixed signals.
Yeah, mixed signals. Kia ora whānau, welcome back. I have an announcement to make. And you will know what I'm saying, I think, straight away, Chewy, but you might want to wear your tie tomorrow night to the show. Just putting it out there.
Okay. Chloe coming on.
Bingo.
It's Chloe.
Yeah. Yep.
Future Prime Minister of New Zealand, Chloe Schwarber.
We have got, there is a policy being released tomorrow by the Greens on housing. And I was contacted by Tamitha, actually. Was like, oh, should we get someone come on? And I said to Tamitha, yeah, that'd be cool. You want to come on? We'd love to have you. I said, in saying that, though, I've been talking to the Greens about getting together with the leaders since Waitangi. So if you wanted to chuck one of them on, we can figure it out. And on their end, they figured it all out and got told today, Chloe tomorrow night. So that'll be fun, whānau, coming on to talk about a policy that we know nothing about yet.
I saw a little clip of her describing the government's laughably titled relief package for the fuel crisis as being cooked. And it just tickled my heart. She just said, this government's response is completely cooked.
Well, last night we were critical of the government because they had no specifics on their relief package for fuel and cost of living. It seems that now there is something to specifically speak about. We will look at it tonight and decide yay or nay. The example they used on One News tonight, which was interesting, was talking about families with children, and they used the example of trainee teachers. So students that are having to drive a long way in their cars because we used to call them sections. I think they call them placements now. And no relief for them. No relief for another example was a young married couple. He's been made redundant 2 years ago, hasn't got a job again yet, and they're one income. No relief for them. So Chippy's words tonight were, it's a start, which I think is fair. Let's acknowledge it's something. They have something now. We just now need to discuss what we think about it. So we're doing that tonight. Also, Brooke van Velden is giving up the ghost. She's parking her broomstick in the cupboard, and she is staying. Want to have a chat about Alfred Ngaro. Real interesting because we've had some conversations. I've heard some conversations in the last couple of days, which have been very, very generous towards Alfred. They've been saying very good MP, this, that, the other. Chris Finlayson smited him. I am going to leave it alone because I'll let you have a view for the first time. Also going to be having a look at Rodney Hyde. Rodney Hyde was on a podcast that I think goes on Monday nights, run by Straight Families First. And the one thing about Rodney Hyde, it's a little bit like, you can disagree with people like Sue Bradford, but Sue Bradford never turned away from her beliefs. The consistency, whether you agree with her positions or not, you cannot challenge the consistency. Rodney Hyde's a bit like that the other way. So there was a really interesting moment in the Straight Family First podcast where an overt and part of her selling point is her faith, her Christianity, Christian commentator, got hoisted by her own petard when Rodney Hyde called hypocrisy on her. And it was really interesting. And there's another story, actually, that I thought we'd throw in, Chewy, if we've got time. I might even start with it, so we're going to do it. That is the latest news around Julian Batchelor and the defamation lawsuit against friends of the show, Sanjay Hatatua and TVNZ. The results are in. The results are in. And I've spoken to Sanjay a couple of times during this process, and I've been like, do you want to come on? Do you want to come on? And each time it's been like, legal representation says I can't. I'm not going to talk about it. So I messaged him today when I heard, and I said, what about now? And haven't heard back yet. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. Maybe we'll just play it. It's only like a really quick one. Let's just do it now. We'll play it now. Let's play it now. We'll do it live. We'll do it live, Chewy. Oh, I need to actually share my screen, which I haven't done yet. So,
this is very live.
Yeah, this is very live. Let's just give this. It's really just a headline, but let's have a look. Old friend of the show, Julian Batchelor, hardly, was angry that he was, I think, using racist rhetoric or something. What I didn't know, maybe you did, Chewy, was the guy, is it Grennan, who tried to overtake NZME, was the backer of Julian Batchelor taking this, and
I didn't know that.
They lost.
Anti-co-governance campaigner Julian Batchelor has lost his defamation case against TVNZ. Batchelor claims his reputation suffered following a 2023 report by One News Māori.
His reputation suffered, Chewy.
His reputation! Oh no, my reputation as being a fine, upstanding racist in the community has been damaged by taking away the fine and upstanding part.
And I think
racist.
I think that, Chewy, that is your honest hell belief, because we don't want a letter. So
no, he's already lost one case. Let's go 2 for 2.
Let's not.
Affairs correspondent Tianua Hure Hanganui. In the story, an academic, also sued by Batchelor for defamation, said the evangelist used racist rhetoric and speech that caused harm. TVNZ was successful in all defences: truth, honest opinion, and responsible communication in the public interest. Batchelor revealed in the trial that his case was bankrolled by Canadian billionaire Jim Grennan, a director of media company NZME, which publishes the New Zealand Herald. Costs have been awarded in TVNZ's favour.
So, that's pretty big, just like our faces. That's pretty big. And a big loss. I guess we've got to be a bit careful, because they did say honest held belief was one of their defences. So we can't now say, because he's been ruled to using racist rhetoric, that makes him that, because maybe the defense was honest held belief that they believed he used racist rhetoric, and that's what. So we don't know the exact ins and outs of it, but really interesting. Easy. And it was also really, it was quite serious. Not to, I think I can say this. It's not talking about the story behind the scenes, but there was some concern about this case, especially by Sanjay, I think, who obviously is just an academic, hasn't got screeds of money, yada, yada, yada. But what do we say, Drew? The good guys won in the end, maybe?
Mm. Well, I mean, this is a classic tactic of people that believe in the power of free speech, is that there's some limit where it makes them feel bad. And I'm being bullied and picked on, and then they find someone with a lot of money, or they are someone with a lot of money, and they take all of that excess money that they've got and they pour it into a lawyer's backpack and say, make the bad words go away, and they almost always lose, because it is almost impossible to prove defamation. Like, it is an incredibly high bar to clear. They never do it.
I
think this is the second case that Canadian billionaire has bankrolled and lost. So welcome to New Zealand, mate.
Actually, he was bankrolling Chantal Baker, and did that not go that way as well?
Stop giving money to racist idiots. Or keep doing it. I'm not the police.
Oh yeah, because it was the $100,000 bond, wasn't it? Because they, not sure though. Yeah, so that's interesting. Hopefully Sanjay has got some time to come on and talk about the process. Hopefully he's able to. It's not like, closed file, confidentiality, yada, yada, yada. We'll stay in touch about that. But also tonight as well, like I said, Luxon and Willis now have a plan. Van Velden is retiring. Finlayson smites Alfred Ngaro, and also, the hoisted by one's own petard is going to be a feature of our conversation tonight as well. If you are expecting merch, happy days. Everything is in the courier now. I believe we are up to date completely and everything is on couriers. You may or may not have got a confirmation yet, but if you're waiting on merch, it's all, unless something's coming today, but everything up until yesterday is all on couriers heading out to people. Thank you for your support. If you're interested in what we're doing, we still have that special going on with Nikki No Boat stuff. Anything Nikki No Boats related in the store, hoodies, tees, stickers, cups, enamels are all just 15% off with the code No Boats at the checkout. It is the 24th today, which means we're expecting a new range of stickers tomorrow. And tomorrow we have been told we're going to see some new enamels for Ditch the Pricks in 26. Not in New Zealand, but they're supposed to be finished tomorrow. So I'll be getting an image of them hopefully sent across to me. bhn.nz if you're interested in getting involved and wearing, I was going to say your heart on your sleeve, wearing your political statement on your chest or something like that. Yeah? All good? Anything else, Joey?
We're smooth. No, that's all good. I'm looking forward to BHN stickers, actually.
I'll give you a discount.
I'll just come around to your house and take a fistful and run out before you've even seen me. You ain't even seen me, mate.
Fair enough.
But yes, we've mentioned this every time, but it is laughable that we've been doing this long and not just had logo stickers to advertise our brand.
Well, it wasn't. We've had the T-shirts and hoodies, but it's just recently that we got the enamels. Yeah, so we got an enamel one. I was just thinking, do we even have an enamel? Got the enamel one there. Got that for sure. So there's the enamel, and we've
we've had the hoodies in there, but it's just glaring that we had missed this one.
And we've got the mugs in there as well. There you go.
And just as a tangent, we might need. Can we amend the what do they call the byline of the show to instead of saying, because I don't think Brooke's retired. Like she's not stopped working. She'll end up being a lobbyist, or in my own headcanon, has been recalled to hell. So, or maybe just indulging in one of her favourite hobbies, which I assume is hanging outside a dairy, knocking ice creams out of kids' hands.
I watched
one of those sort of things, I bet.
I watched the announcement. I haven't got it to hand, but she used a phrase during the announcement would very much sound like she had something set up to go to. But when asked that question, from the journalists, she said no, that she didn't. But yeah, so I take her at her word. She didn't. She probably misworded something, but it did sound like during her very well worded, she said that she's 33 about 6 times explanation. It sounded like she had something already booked in, but apparently not. She has debunked that herself.
Maybe I'm reading too much into the tea leaves here, but this morning's announcement that she was retiring was not telegraphed at all. Like, press was summoned at very short notice, first thing this morning for a press conference at 11:30, and all they said is, David's not quitting.
Yeah, because the rumor mill had started.
So it just sounds like this is it's a quick decision, or she might have been making it for a long time, but certainly didn't communicate it, or it's something something's cropped up.
No. Let's give accurate information, right? She had thought about this before Christmas. She had voiced this before Christmas, and she was asked by, I guess, caucus or by the party to go away over summer and have a think about it. So it has been telegraphed internally. I definitely saw that. I don't know whether it was during the One News story or whether it was during the live stand-up, because I'm sad, and today I watched 2 live stand-ups, so you don't have to. But she definitely said that it was telegraphed pre-Christmas. She thought about it over. You know what's interesting though, Chewy, is you've kind of just said something without meaning to, is that it was telegraphed, but it still didn't leak. Like I can remember when Petra Baggist, who I have worked with on radio and stuff before, when Petra quit breakfast, nobody knew. And I can still visualize her when they announced it on the show, high-fiving whoever the male co-host was, basically saying, and nobody knew, because these things always leak. So it's interesting that it didn't leak. I wonder if that means it was within just a couple of people, or they've actually got some supportive crew for one another at the very least, if not for the poor, but for one another within that caucus.
Well, they are promising that picking a new deputy leader for ACT is going to be a pretty cordial process where they've all got their hands up and they're all willing to have a go, and they'll just have a very polite discussion over tea and scones and present that information to us before the election.
It's got to be a guy. It's got to be a guy. Do you know why it has to be a guy? Because they don't want to be seen to be using DEI. Like we can't be seen to be using it, so therefore it cannot be a female leader. It'll have to be a guy. During the conference, I was just looking, going, it's Nicole McKee. In all seriousness, I was going, yeah, it's Nicole McKee. That's who it's going to be. So we'll wait.
Yeah, I can believe it, which is good for everybody else.
Okay, well, let's do that next. But before we do that, 215 days to get a friend to register to vote, says Gold. Excel dear, is Ding Dong the Witch is dead inappropriate? No. A political inshitificator, says Pete. And Fetu says, did y'all see the article about the IDF torture of a 1-year-old used to draw a confession from his father? I did not see that. Unfortunately.
Holy shit.
It does not surprise me.
I did see, however, footage of IDF soldiers pushing a car off a bank with a family in it on the West Bank.
Shocking.
Sorry, just since we're talking about it. Van Droid, help us win the election. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. I can't do that. Yeah. Again, Discord's community, Kiwi Burb, undefeated. That's amazing.
Let's get to it. We've been talking about it for a bit now, so let's just actually look at the 3 news story tonight on the resignation of Brooke van Velden.
The ACT Party's deputy leader, Brooke van Velden, is stepping away from politics, confirming today she won't seek re-election this year. The 33-year-old cabinet minister says after nearly a decade in and around Parliament, it's time for something new.
What is a 24-year-old doing at Parliament? I mean, honestly.
Ava Whitworth reports.
When ACT announced a sudden press conference, reporters couldn't help wondering if someone might be about to leave. But surely not the leader.
I recognise from some of the speculation this won't be the announcement that many of you are hoping for.
It just looks like they're ready to go, to tell my
that is absolutely not what.
Just the way they've lined up, hands around on the, hands in front of the groins. That's what happens next, is the waiata.
The person resigning was actually his deputy, Brooke van Velden, who has been many things.
I'm now 33, which seems very young to you, but I've also been the
You old pricks.
youngest cabinet minister in history, and I've risen quite quickly, having been a staff member, deputy leader of ACT for 6 years, a minister in government, the youngest in 4 decades.
Including one of ACT's most high-profile figures.
For a while. I want to just remind you all that during this term, we talked about Brooke van Velden quite a lot in, let's say, the first 6 months, and then she just disappeared. And I can remember doing a bit on Brooke van Velden, which was, where the hell is Brooke van Velden gone? So I don't know whether that was coincidence, Chewy, or it was too much for her, or the backlash she was getting, she couldn't handle. But yeah, she was high profile for a while, and then she disappeared.
But now Van Velden is stepping away from politics.
The easy option for me, it feels, would be to continue on, but I also ultimately want to live life and see what other opportunities are out there.
Her time in office has put her at the centre of some of the government's most contentious reforms, including axing fair pay agreements, reinstating 90-day trials for workers, overhauling the Holiday Act and tightening pay equity laws. Changes supporters say improved flexibility for employers, but critics argue rolled back worker protections. And it's that last one, pay equity, she says made the biggest difference.
And ultimately, I saved the budget.
Unions said it shut.
Ultimately, we took $14 billion off vulnerable women who are working in jobs underpaid, but we got to give tax breaks and reimbursements to landlords. Fee you.
Down claims from workers in female-dominated industries, including education and healthcare. Van Velden says she has no regrets and isn't ruling out a return to politics later in life.
Even if I came back in 20 years, I'd be in my 50s, which is when a lot of people enter Parliament for the first time.
For now, she's stepping away, leaving behind a legacy that is likely to keep sparking debate.
Oh, way. Chewy, thoughts?
I'm glad she's gone. She has been the person that has front-footed some of the biggest reductions in workers' rights and benefits in such a short amount of time. And you can see that there. I don't think it's a lack of thought about what she's done. She's thought about it. She's comfortable with it. She saved a budget, don't you know? There is no empathy or consideration for the worker. And that's from the person that is, what was it? The Minister for Workplace Relations? And the relations are, fuck you. It's a middle finger. Like the story that came out the other week that said one of the packet of options that she presented for the minimum wage increase was a big fat nothing. In a cost of living crisis, she wanted to give the lowest paid workers in New Zealand nothing. They settled on 2% because I think even National thought that was insane to not give anything. It was still below the rate of inflation at that point. But can you imagine? Nothing.
What you're saying actually was referenced in the One News article. I saw One News, which is why I know. So I haven't queued this up to play. Let me just see if we've got it, because it was Marama and Chloe who I think brought up what you're saying, Chewy.
Very effective and exceptionally young cabinet minister. Now she's going on her
Maybe
own
he met her on Snapchat. Maybe that's why she was so young. Just thinking.
terms, and I admire that a lot.
Others more critical.
There are so many more examples of how she has actively gone against unions, against workers' collective power.
I mean, she actively investigated a 0% minimum wage increase.
There you go.
There you go. So that's what you're saying. It's actively investigated, which means it's in the handbook, it's in the Hansard, it's in their evidence, the OIO, that she did it, and yeah, as you say, it's funny that what she did was too far for National. That's saying something.
Yeah, I honestly think some of the callousness, the harshness of how things were done, you know, the pay equity thing, the thing that really got me was that was retrospective. That was like, no, we're not doing it. It doesn't matter how long you've been negotiating or where those negotiations are. They could have just started, or they could be literally days away from being completed. They're all shit canned, and we're not talking about it.
Yeah.
Like I have a friend that was affected by that. He's an early childhood teacher. And he was just saying the gate came down. It just stopped. No, it's been decided by government, and that's it. And to be sitting there and go, hang on, we've been at this for over a year, backwards and forwards, and stating our case and preparing all the information and that sort of thing, and it's a two-way street, and there's a negotiation going on, and then it just stops. Yeah. And the only explanation that they got was the government's decided to not do it. And the government, in this case, is Brooke van Velden.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do a victory lap for her being the youngest cabinet member or all of that. There are other people that have gone into politics young as well. You know, Chloe, Jacinda, Simon Bridges, Hannah. You know, there's lots of people. But I think her legacy, Brooke's legacy, is how much damage she has done to the New Zealand worker.
Let me put up a text or a message. I'm not going to read it out. People can read it for themselves. It would be wrong coming in my XY chromosome voice, but people can just read it for themselves what Sarah has to say, which kind of just speaks to what sort of you're talking about. The other thing I was waiting for today and didn't see it, ironically, Chewy, was where is Pat gone? He's not here anymore on a camera. We'll keep going. Where is the vitriol about, oh, look at her leaving, women in Parliament, why couldn't she stick it out? What's going on? Like what Jacinda got. You know, what, you got no gumption to keep going? Do you know what I mean? It's like there was none of that today. You can take over, Joe, and I'll see what's going on with my camera.
In fairness, one of the things that I thought about when this happened, you know, once I stopped laughing, was like, I see how people talk about Brooke, and I get it, but it still goes into that territory of how people talk about women in Parliament, of whatever stripe, you know, and I just want people to be aware of that. Criticise her works, you know, and I guess we play around with it a little bit, you know, talking about her going back to her charger at night or being recalled to hell. You know, somebody said that, I don't know who that was. But yeah, there can be a really nasty edge when people talk about women in politics. So just be aware of it. Just be aware of it. Pat's camera's working now. Now he just needs to come back. I mean, what do you think about Pat? Have you seen any of that really sort of sexualized language about her going? I
haven't seen any sexualized language about Brooke van Velden.
Sexualized,
I don't know why.
You know, stuff that a man wouldn't get. That's what I mean.
Well, there was the See You Next Thursday conversation that went, but that was from another woman, and that was mentioned on One News as well. The first time it was used. Look, I think that Brooke van Velden, I'm pretty sure, is one of those people when Jacinda and others were talking about that kind of vitriol that you're talking about, Chewy, who went, well, I've never received it, which I don't believe, and I think it is the kind of thing that where we sit politically and I guess socially, we would be like, no woman. It's what you said. It's play the ball, not the man. You know, like it's not. It's like we don't get that, but what we get all the time is people dismissing us because we're living in our mother's basements, or we smell bad, or we're leftists. It's like, well, just fight us on the arguments, fight us on the position, fight us on the opinion. So anyone getting any level of that, and for women it's particularly bad, and it does become a sexualized thing often, or a sexually violent thing in rhetoric from men is worse, but it's in the same kind of chapter of that book of basically saying that person's not worthy of me challenging their argument because reason X, because they're a woman, because they are leftist, because they, whatever it is, and make it very clear. I think it's worse what happens to women, because the reality with women is there is a truth behind that sexual violence in society today. There's not really a truth about, leftists living in their mother's basements causing them any sort of problems. You know what I mean? So that abuse comes from a place of reality about violence contributed against women. The other bit we're talking about doesn't come from a reality, well, it's just a way of kind of taking something apart. So I want to make it clear, we're not saying it's the same. It's in the same chapter of the book. Quite a long way away, a number of pages, but basically saying to someone, your arguments aren't worth taking because of reason X that's got nothing to do with your argument. I think it's clear enough. Yeah. All right. Anyone in the chat want to jump in and say anything? Jess, what has Jess got to say? Can't wait to give my 50 cents a supermarket price hike. Give my $50, sorry, $50 to my $50. Yes, we'll get onto that next, I think, as well. Treknut says Brooke van Velden, I'm stepping away. Reality, I'm sick of the hate. Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Like I said, if it is I'm sick of the hate, then she should say that. If it is I can't handle all the vitriol, then she should say that. But if she does say that, then what she's also got to concede is why Jacinda left wasn't maybe the most cowardly thing in the world, like many on her side of politics would have you believe. You know, maybe she understands a bit more now. Or truthfully, maybe she's got a better job opportunity somewhere else. Maybe she can go and earn stacks of money, working half the time, not leaving her lovely house wherever she lives in Auckland.
Honestly, that's what I think it is. I think she's going private sector lobbyist, and it's that MP to lobbyist revolving door. And for her, it's going to turn a couple of times. And she's gone to Parliament, she'll go to lobbyist, she'll come back through the door later, back into Parliament.
Well, we know it'll be really interesting to see now is how good she is at being an economist, like David Seymour told us she was, the economist, one of two economists in Parliament. So she's probably going to go to work as an economist, Chewy, because apparently David Seymour tells us she's an economist or something like that. I'm not entirely sure.
I have doubts.
Okay, I want to show you something. I'll show it to you second. I think we'll do the story first of all. Let's have a look at this package that was put together by the government today when it comes to how they are going to support people at the pump. You have to say it's something, right? Because it is. We then get to debate whether they should be doing more, whether it's good. I want to also always push back against this idea of spraying cash around. That's their tell at the moment, spraying cash around, inflation. There's lots of things you could do that would involve you spraying zero cash around, like taking some of the tax off fuel excise tax. You wouldn't be spraying any cash. You'd just be allowing the punters to keep more in their wallet. Like, for example, free public health. I mean, public transport, free public transport. Yes, you would have to pay for that, but it's not spraying cash around in the community. It's actually giving public transport operators the money they would be getting from the customers anyway.
Would you consider that targeted, timely, and whatever the other T word was?
Testicles. I think that that's obviously Luxon on the 9th floor coming up with PR spin because he's big boy CEO. And I think that they're trying really hard because they're going to use sort of a color-coded alarm system just like COVID. They're trying as desperately as they can to do something similar to the help that was given during COVID without evoking anything to do with COVID. So that's one of the reasons they're going, well, 6 months, a year. And this petrol relief, or not petrol relief, but the relief to households is going to be maximum of 1 year, or when petrol gets below $3 a litre for 4 consecutive weeks. Interested to see how that gets worked out. Is it the average price? Is it the price in Auckland? Is it the price nationwide? But that's what they're saying. And yes, it is targeted, but maybe it would be better if it wasn't targeted. I don't think anyone asked them that I saw today, what is this going to cost to implement? Because we've seen before that often targeting something, and the COVID payouts is one of them. If you had have targeted it, you would have spent more money than you saved from just giving it to everybody. So I'd like to know how much this is going to cost, and that will then tell us whether the timely targeted, I was just reading in the text here, try and pretend it was me from Excel there. The timely, targeted, and Timo quality support, Timu, was worth it or not. So let's get to the story and have a listen to it. And then I've got something to show you at the press conference, which I thought was hilarious. And you're going to think it's hilarious as well, Chewy.
Low to middle income working families are set for a small boost to their bank balances with the government.
$50 a week. It's good. Just saying. Like, I don't think we're going to challenge the amount. $50 a week, it's good. You know, if it's costing you another $80 for fuel, $50 a week, it's good. It's an okay amount of money. I'm not therefore saying to enough people, but the actual amount of money, $50 a week, it's good. It's a good amount of money.
Today unveiling its cost of living relief package. Around 140,000 families with children will receive an extra $50 a week through a lift to the base rate of the Working for Families in Work tax credit. The government sticking to its targeted and temporary mantra, with the support lasting for just 1 year or until the price of 91 octane falls below $3 for 4 straight weeks. For a closer look at what's in the package and who misses out on help, here's senior political reporter Benedict Collins.
As motorists topped up in Auckland today, it was clear they're feeling the pinch.
It was costing me just on $100, so it'll probably cost me nearly double.
It's not just putting in here, it's everywhere you go, because everyone else is being charged and they've got to put their prices up too.
Now the government's unveiled its response.
I am announcing that from next month, 143,000.
Can I just say as well, this is completely tangent. Why is the Prime Minister standing so close to her like that? It is a tad creepy. Like, didn't step away and leave her the podium, just stood there looking over her shoulder. I'm surprised his lips weren't moving as he was reading along with her. I'm gonna show you something about the Prime Minister and where he's standing at the end. But yeah, it's just like it's a bit weird.
Low to middle income working families with children will get an extra $50 a week in their bank accounts.
These are the genuinely squeezed lower middle income working New Zealanders.
What difference are you hoping that this $50 extra a week will make for Kiwi families?
I hope it means for those families is that they can continue to feed their children well, that they can continue to get to and from work each day and take their kids to school each day without facing huge levels of anxiety.
But trainee teachers, who often have to drive long distances to school placements, are among those who will miss out.
Yep.
They're asking for extra help.
A lot of students that we've spoken to are travelling up to an hour each way, so that's 2 hours a day that they're travelling potentially on their practicum placements. Compared to only a couple of weeks ago, that's an extra $100 that they're potentially spending.
What about all those workers out there who don't have families? They're still getting smashed by the high fuel prices, right?
Yeah, look, I fully acknowledge that. And my first commitment to them is they would not thank me if I did so much spending that inflation went higher.
And remember, there's ways around that. This is their get out of jail free card. We can't help everybody, and that's fine. That's true. You can't help everybody, right? Okay, let's take that. But they'd be worse off if we splashed the cash around and raised inflation like that. There's other options. It's not. This is not binary. It's not either we target it to the families, or we get out the cannons full of money and just do this. You know, there is an in between, which they've also just chosen not to go with. So from the journalist, that's the pullback. Come on, it's just, what about other options, not necessarily the spraying the cash option? Do you want to say something, Chewy? Is that why you got frustrated there, or should I push
this just seems dumb and inelastic. Like, it misses so many people.
Yeah.
Like this, I think I saw the figure of 140,000 people.
143,000 families.
Probably
300,000 people.
If I'm right on this, the Working for Families tax credit tops out if your family's total income is $89,000 a year. And you've got to have kids, obviously. So this $50 a week, if the fuel prices go higher, it's not going to go further. If the fuel prices go further, then everything's going up in price. Food's going up in price. Just everything. Like, this doesn't seem to capture enough people. We've already had one example there. There's just better options that they could have spent this money on. They're concerned about getting kids to school and saving people's money and reducing our use of petrol in the middle of a crisis.
Yeah.
This money should have gone to public transport.
So here's some information for you. Working for Families payments start reducing when your total annual family incomes exceeds $44,900. Now, obviously, it's a ramped scale, though. It starts reducing. So you've lost 27 cents when it goes to $1 past that. You can still receive payments while earning above the amount, but the payment's reduced by 27.5 cents for every other dollar earned over the threshold.
But they're saying if you receive Working for Families at all, you get $50 extra a week starting.
No. No, because there are people on benefits who receive working for families. They won't be getting anything. If you're on a benefit, or if the benefit is the main form of your income, you will receive zero. And this is probably the article when basically Nicola Willis, says the quiet part out loud, where she basically says, well, people driving to work need help, not people sitting at home, why the beneficiaries aren't getting it.
You want them to get work, so they can't go to training, they can't go to their appointments.
I've been more curt than the way she words it, but that's what she's basically saying. And just think, when you're talking about targeted, that's not the case. So my kids, when I had 3 kids at home and they were all going to school, all of them walked. So there was no need for extra money to get the kids to school, yet I know people who have been on benefits who had to drive their kid every day to looked after them at home. But anyway, to use the car more than we did. So the idea is, they got to drive their kids to school and they got to do this. So we're giving them money. So, well, what about, if we're going to target it, what about the ones that don't drive their kids to school? What about the ones where the kids walk to school? Why are they getting it then? Because it's your targeting, not ours. Let's just keep going and see if she says that about beneficiaries.
The opposition's reaction was mixed.
It's a start. There's a lot of New Zealanders who won't get anything from what the government announced today, but for those who are getting a bit of extra support, I know they'll welcome that.
They have chosen to leave behind the hundreds of thousands of children whose parents are not in paid employment.
Working families face the obligation to get to and from work each day. Beneficiaries do not face that obligation.
There you go. Lazy beneficiaries sitting at home, living off the public teat. What do you think you need extra money for? These guys are going to work. You guys are doing nothing.
They do have obligations, though. Mm-hmm. There's such a broad, sweeping comment of they don't need help because they don't leave their houses. They don't have family members that they look after. They're not out looking for jobs, looking for work. They don't have to get their kids to school. All of that. What the fuck? Christ, that pisses me off. It's so dumb. It's so short-sighted.
So there's other areas. What about retirees? Nothing for them. It's not in this story, but there was another story on One News, sort of 20 minutes after this one, where they were talking about people who were elderly care helpers, caring for people in their homes, those kinds of people, visiting the disabled and caring for them, visiting the elderly and caring for them, caregivers, we'll call them. Now the price of their petrol is doubled, but they're not getting anything if they're not part of the family package. But they pay petrol themselves and they get reimbursed, but now what they're getting reimbursed is not high enough to cover the cost of petrol.
Some of these people that are getting hit with this lack of support are also the people that would have lost their pay equity negotiations.
100%.
This government hates you. It hates you. If you're a support worker that looks after the disabled community, that's perfect. That's a 1-2 punch. We punished a disabled person and the disabled person's care worker. Fucking phenomenal.
All right, let's keep going.
Back at the pump, what did Kiwis make of the $50 boost?
That would actually mean that I could pay something that I meant to pay and have it $50 to put on the car.
No, I read about that this morning. I don't have kids, so I get nothing.
Me and my husband have no children, so we're not eligible. He was made redundant 2 years ago, so on one income, so $50 would have been nice as a childless couple.
Today, we were reminded just why we're here.
Put simply, Operation Epic Fury and its resulting
Operation Epstein's Fury. Get the name right.
fallout is hurting all Kiwis.
Our leaders now trying to soften that blow.
There you go, Chewie. So that's the story I've got, and I'm going to show you a clip from the actual press conference. But is there anything more you want to add to that before we go and see Captain Weird, aka Christopher Luxon, at the press conference?
This is, I know I keep saying this, but I will continue to keep saying this. You wanted to know what National would have been like during COVID? Pay attention. This is their crisis management. This is how they choose who to help. It is slapdash. It is poorly thought out. It is late. It is too little. It is not comprehensive. This is going to get bad.
Yeah. Let's have a look at this. I don't want to take away from the serious nature of what Chewy just said. It's all very true, but I wanted to show you some of the press conference. And I was weirded out. It sounds really pedantic, but the amount that the Prime Minister was nodding, it seemed like he was trying to convince the room what Nicola was saying was accurate and good. Just have a look. I'll just play you maybe 60, 90 seconds of it. Maybe even turn it down.
The government is acutely aware that the conflict is affecting virtually all Kiwi people and businesses.
Yep.
Put simply, Operation Epic Fury and its resulting fallout is hurting all Kiwis.
Mm-hmm.
The longer traffic through the Strait of Hormuz is disrupted, the greater that impact will be on the price of other goods. Diesel is a key cost for most producers of goods and services in our economy. However, the government is also conscious that an untargeted response to the conflict could have long-lasting and painful consequences for the New Zealand economy. We saw this in the aftermath of COVID. Excessive spending more than doubled debt and sent inflation soaring and mortgage rates skyrocketing. Kiwis are still grappling with the effects of
I don't know why he smiled there as well. It's like his head's just off on its own little journey.
It would be a perfect time to bring a bobblehead into the merch store. I don't know, but see what I mean? Like I am being a bit silly, but the amount he's nodding, it's like he's trying to make sure everyone knows. I think this too. This is proper. Yep, nodding again. Yep, still nodding. All the way through. It was really bizarre. Really bizarre. Yep, gonna nod some more now. Yep, this is my time to nod. I do that. Yep, nodding away. Yep, nodding. Yep. I found it peculiar. I watched the whole thing, and it was like that all the way through. You know, there's some parts where it's more vicious and other, especially when you're talking about the COVID thing. You're like, oh, yep, got a nod for that one. There you go. Still nodding. He's still nodding. Still going for it. I just found it peculiar, and I wonder if it was intentional. If it was intentional because he wanted to make sure that everybody in the room and those watching knew that we are all on board with this messaging, or if it wasn't intentional, it's like, what are you doing? What's going on in your head right now?
Just as I was watching that haunted bobblehead, obviously the thing that National thinks it's fighting is the rampant inflation after COVID. Now, COVID happened quickly, but it was still something that ramped up over time. Right? We made our decision, go hard, go early, all of that sort of stuff, and we let the rest of the world make up its mind about what it was doing. So it was a curve, right? This is different. Like, everybody's wanting to make that connection to COVID. But the price of fossil fuels it's a straight line. It's a cliff. Straight up. Absolutely no warning. Like, it's not like other times that there's been something happened in the like the Gulf War where there's months and months and months of build up and preparation and everybody knows where it was going. Like, this happened suddenly, unexpectedly, everyone was caught flat-footed, and it's absolutely spiked the cost of fuel. And there is no ramp down, there is no plan, like, this could expand and go further, right? And I think our government shows no sign of planning for that. Like, all we've heard from them now is like, oh, we need to think about it for a couple of weeks to work out whether it's good or bad. And we've put our heads together and we've come up with a pretty ineffective response to the increase in fuel only. And we're only talking about how you get to work. We're not talking about the increases in costs to literally everything, from the field to the supermarket to how goods get distributed. It's going to spike the price of everything. It took over a year for economies to recover from the 1979 fuel crisis. And that was over 7% of the world's fuel supply. This is now affecting 20% of the world's fuel supply. I don't think people are panicking enough at this point.
I think you're right. And actually, Chewy, this ties in quite well. Was it Clint? I'm not sure. Someone sent me, I can look it up. I want to give due credit. Someone sent me this live update New Zealand fuel reserves monitor. Have you seen this?
I've seen that someone's done something like this. I haven't actually had a look at it.
So this is New Zealand Reserve Fuels Monitor. It says that our most critical is diesel and that we have 35 days and 4 hours left of it. Petrol, there's 35 days and 6. This is what's in country, right? So it's here. 35.6 days left. Diesel's 31.2 days left. Jet fuel, 27.6 days left. And you can go and have a look at other places, like there's the Australian one as well, which is looking even worse. But the thing about the New Zealand one is then you can also go down and have a look at the current boats that are coming to New Zealand, the ships that are coming to New Zealand. So this one is on its way, and it's got 7.4 days in it of petrol. So that's petrol plus 7.4 days. This one here is jet fuel, I think, from memory. Jet fuel plus 10 days. If you have a look, can we scroll out? I'm going to try and scroll out. Oh, there we go. There. Look, there's no other ships coming to New Zealand. All right, none of them. That's it. Which means, according to this, there's no diesel on its way. Because we've got petrol and we've got jet fuel, 2 boats.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see, this will be the one that we saw the other day. Jet fuel, so that's arrived. It'll be interesting to see how this pans out. If you want to look at it yourself, nzoilwatch.com will give you that information. And look, I'm too dumb to know all the details on here, but it's pretty comprehensive. Reserve levels, 100%, 100%, 100% at the moment for all of our petrol, diesel, jet fuel. But then what happens if you don't get more boats? I mean, if you go to Australia, for example, see the boats going to Australia, they're...
There's stories coming out of South Korea at the moment about fuel restrictions. So they're at the stage, this is the place that refines all the fuel. They've decided that public servants, they don't drive to work anymore. So they're work from home or public transport only. They're putting restrictions on their population's use of fuel at this point.
Yeah.
And they have already said, look, we're capping exports to countries at last year's levels. Yes. So I think this almost blasé notion that a country that is already putting their population under a little bit of stress by restricting how they use fuel is just going to just go, yep, sure, you can have what you want. I don't see that playing out well.
Well, Nicola Willis literally said today, no, I'm not going to say quote because I might a few of the words, but she literally said, we're not asking New Zealand to change any of their habits at the moment. She literally said that today around fuel.
And that's short-sighted. That's short-sighted because if it gets worse, and I believe that it will, then that will really force people's hands. Now, these guys are basically sitting there going, people are going to have to police themselves. The market will take care of everything. Like, one of the things that came out, and I want the rural sector to pay attention to this, right? Because they are screaming out. They know that diesel is part of this, and without diesel, they are fucked. Both for harvest and running their machineries, and also for being able to go into town and get the things that they need. It's pretty much all diesel. Now, the government has nothing for them either. And that was brought up. And basically what Willis has said is, there's nothing for them. I have had phone conversations with the managers of all the major banks, and I've set my expectations that they are to help the rural sector. Now, what the fuck does that mean? Can I remortgage my house for the harvest's fuel supply, please? Oh, well, yes, the finance minister said that we've got to let you do that. You know, there is no support for the rural sector coming from the government that likes to go, we're the only ones that care about the rural sector. Remember that. Remember it well.
Little tangent, but back on one of our earlier stories about Brooke van Velden. I didn't know about this until right now. Friend of the show, Max Harris. Harris, genius, smart, intelligent, absolutely onto it. He has been selected as the Labour candidate for Tamaki. So he would have been going up against Brooke van Velden, and
so that's why she quit.
Someone has made the connection. No wonder Brooke quit. So that's a nice bit of news. Max is a legend. Cool. Do you want to do the starred chats? I'm just going to set up the next thing.
What do we got here? Pete says, unless suppliers secured, this is a band-aid. Yep, 100%. I think it's a very ineffective one. Study Boy says, bringing back 50% off public transport would help. Yes, that would just affect big cities, but again, it's a start. Look, they could go further. Half price, free. Like, I think that would have been a better use of money. It would have been better for children going to school and all of that sort of stuff. What do we got? PSA, remember to make a submission against the English language bill before Friday, whānau. It's another shady attempt to erase Te Reo Māori. Thank you for the reminder. I had completely forgotten about that one and I haven't made a submission. So there you go, fam. A little bit of homework for tonight. Excel there, let them use EVs. Nikki No Boats. Now, this prompts a thought. Like, I must admit, I've been doing laps and being very smug about being a dual EV solar household. But it doesn't insulate us because prices are going to go up. Because
diesel still is on the truck that brings the food to your supermarket.
Yeah.
You might be insulated a bit more, but you're not insulated.
And there's another aspect of it is like if we are talking about, hey, look, we need to look at more EVs and that sort of thing, that is a medium to long-term solution. Like, EVs have been snapped up, prices on Trade Me have gone up. Like, it is not going to help the low or middle income family to go and buy a new car. Like, at the start of a crisis when we don't know what food's going to do, go and buy a new car is not good advice. So if you are like me and an EV person, me and Pat, maybe keep that smugness just fucking down a little bit.
I've been very careful not to be smug here. Even,
I haven't been careful at all.
I know we joke about stuff all the time, but there's some jokes in bad taste, and to be able to go, oh, what's this petrol thing you speak of? It's like,
yeah,
not gonna.
Why are there big queues at the pie shop that I go to?
No.
JL402, cash for the defeat of stupid Muppets. That's for us, I guess.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
No help for the bottom feeders.
Yeah.
XLD again. Serious question. How long till the people are mass gathering outside Parliament demanding more? No fuel needed for that.
We should be are we going to hold like an event on the front lawn of Parliament? Has that ever been done before? How did that end up? For 28 days?
I don't know.
Thinking.
Don't know.
Right.
Just gone to memory. May the odds ever be in your favour.
Does feel a little bit Hunger Games when you're thinking about it. It's just like it's shortly there'll be like going from there's talk, and in fact we're going to have a look at a clip from Cross Party Lines, which is the podcast featuring Sam Collins, Chris Finlayson and Phill Goff. And at one point of this conversation, which we're not going to do now in this podcast episode, they were talking about people rorting the system already. There are petrol companies that are selling petrol for $4 a litre, and ones down the road are $3.60. So there's no reason why that $4 a litre should be having unless they're rorting the system. And I think it's Phill Goff asked that same question, Chewy. All this petrol has been paid for. Why are the prices going up? And I know there isn't an answer to that, but in a time of crisis.
Look, this is the other thing that the South Koreans have done as well, along with that public service, no use your car rule, is that they have instituted price caps.
Right.
So that they've gone to the fuel companies. No, there is a maximum that you can charge. We're not having this wrought. And again, this is a measure that the government has not put in place. They haven't rationed fuel yet. They hope that they won't have to because it's a little bit too mandatey. And they haven't put the big boot down on the fuel companies to go, again, daily limits or price caps or that sort of thing. It is, the market is going to look after itself. And I think that is incredibly short-sighted.
Then why are they doing anything? So you can't have it both ways. If the market's going to look itself out, then you just should not do anything. But you're also offering people a chance to, you're offering more help for some people. But if it's all good and the market's going to fix the problem, why are you doing that? You can't have it both ways. You can't both provide a hand out to people who need it whilst you're ignoring all the other people who need it, and then go, but it's fine. There's no problems here. Nothing to see here. You can't have it both ways. Can't have it both ways. Any more?
No, that's everything. Clean slate.
All right. So Alfred Ngaro, I think it is, isn't it? Used to be in National. We get an announcement this weekend at Winston Peters' State of the Nation speech that he's now going to run for New Zealand First. It's interesting, actually, that New Zealand First would get him in, because you've got to wonder how long can Winston go for, whether it's retirement, which is hard to believe, or passing away. If he wants his New Zealand First Party to continue, he is going to need to have some people who continue it for him. I think it's still evident to this day that Shane Jones doesn't hold the same sway that Winston Peters does. And even if they can get by with, an election after he decides to move on, or the good Lord upstairs sends him downhill. But after that, it has to be a new independent, no longer Winston First, but actually New Zealand First. So maybe that's why they're looking around for some other candidates. Now, we're going to talk about that a little bit when we go to the Rodney Hyde conversation. But for now, let's have a look what both Chris Finlayson and Phill Goff think of him, because it's really interesting. The podcast called Cross Party Lines. It's run by a guy called Sam Collins. It's featuring Chris Finlayson and Phill Goff. And let's go have a little bit of a look at them talking about Alfred Ngaro and the shift, shall we say, the shift to New Zealand First.
And we had the news this afternoon that former National Party MP Alfred Ngaro is joining New Zealand First. Chris, I guess it's a good chance to ask you what he was like as an old colleague.
Well, I never really understood why Bill put him into cabinet in 2016. He was never a heavyweight. I think actually he's been looking for a political party to get back into Parliament. He was going to form a Christian party, but that didn't go very far at all. So, and what seems to have happened is that he's abandoned Jesus for the true Messiah, Winston. And like many other malcontents from various political parties, like Stuart Nash and others, he's gravitated to New Zealand First because he thinks that will be a good route into Parliament. So
Chris Finlayson's a polite, well-spoken man. That's about as heavy shade as you will ever get from this man, Chewy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I heard Chris Finlayson call him a bitch just then. Like, you had to listen very, very closely. Just called him a big, stupid bitch. Yeah.
All right. We'll keep going because it's not finished.
Because he thinks that will be a good route into Parliament. So, I mean, I've got no personal animus against Alfred. He was a hail fellow, well met sort of a guy. As I say, not much chop really in the cabinet room, but we'll see what happens, and we'll see if he's going to stand for a seat. Probably, what would it be, Phill, Tiatatu or something right there?
Yeah, I think he comes from out West Auckland way, but I agree with your comments. It's not a great way of recruiting to get quality candidates to pick up people that once were MPs for a different party with a different philosophy, now looking for a new home. It didn't work well for Jenny Shipley in the late 90s when she had a series of strays like Alamein Kopu that she relied on. it hasn't worked well for Winston Peters in the past. So, I think maybe the electorate would benefit from having fresh new people that weren't waka hoppers, as the term goes, but were people that were clear in their commitment, their philosophy, their principles, and had policies to offer to the New Zealand electorate. I think the embarrassing thing about Alfred's introduction was his lack of introduction, and nobody recognised who he was, which was a bit awkward when you get up there, the audience starts yelling out, "Who are you?" So that wasn't an auspicious start.
There you go. So you didn't know that when he opened up for Winston Peters, when he introduced Winston Peters, people were yelling out, "Who are you?" from the auditorium, and he had to introduce himself. Now, I like the comment. I think I put it up. Chris Finlayson in no fucks given mode. I think you are completely accurate. And even when he said, "I've got nothing personal to say about him," he then did shade again about the caliber of the man in cabinet. Chewy, that's it. That's the video from Chris Finlayson and Phill Goff. Your thoughts, though?
Look, there's one fact and one fact only that I want to highlight about this guy, that he's founded a New Zealand Parliamentary Friendship Group for Israel. Right. He is a Zionist. He's been part of a couple of very pro-Israeli groups, and just seems to be really dialing down on that. I have something here that I thought I had prepared, but I hadn't. Here it is. Indigenous Coalition for Israel. It's pretty weird. An international Christian initiative. So yeah, here he is here. And here is this person. And then to be announced. TBA. Somehow there is a link between New Zealand's indigenous community and Israeli Jews. It's super weird.
Yeah. No, that is super weird. And I just thought it was fascinating, the amount of shade that they were throwing at him. They basically said Finlayson basically said he's useless and he's just after to quote a phrase, Mr. Peters, the baubles of office, and he thinks he's found his way in New Zealand first. That was the summary of his conversation. And these politicians, when they're calling each other names and terrible things in Parliament, they can't use the words. It's a bit like what we just heard there. Like that.
And look, I think this does stuff. Obviously the announcement of him coming in to New Zealand first was made at that State of the Nation thing. Look, there's another reason why Winston decided to drop the phrase Judeo-Christian values in there. That seems to be very, very important.
Yeah.
To this fellow. And look, New Zealand is a secular place. Like, I just don't see it as a winner when a politician decides to go hardcore religion. Religion's the way. We need to vote for religion. New Zealanders don't care about that. Like, religion is a private thing for most religious New Zealanders, I think. Now, the church don't get flashy about it, and the ones that are really gross and out front about it, we don't dig them.
Yeah.
But I think this guy has more links and more in common with Destiny Church than anything else.
Yikes. That is a concern. All right. Do you want to, we've got one more story to go tonight. Do you want to get to the super chats? And you want to do those chats and anything there while I get the next story ready?
Yep, I can't stand Chris Finlayson. He called me scum last year for handing out leaflets in support of Palestine on Lambton Key. He could piss off. Look, that is fair. Finlayson has been pretty cagey and very much came down on the Israeli side at the start of that. I personally, that would be a question that I'd love to ask him is where does he stand now? Because I think that would tell. And look, he is someone that was a national. He's not always going to be a winner, but I think he has called a lot of stuff about the current National Party and especially his leader correctly. And I think he deserves credit for his treaty negotiation stuff and his pointing out that letting ACT run roughshod over Treaty Waitangi is wrong. But yeah, we are not going to sit here and say everything that he believes in is correct.
In that conversation, they were talking about asset sales, and you can certainly still hear the National Party minister in Chris Finlayson. He wasn't quite saying, sell off TV, Air New Zealand and TVNZ. And that. He was saying that why don't we? He had an interesting thought actually, because the state owns a bunch of farms, like we own farms, and he said that when he was Treaties Minister, he wanted to sell the farms to then fund the treaty releases. Like basically you could give you could give the farms as a part of a settlement as a way of using it. And I guess I can kind of go, maybe you can see on some level, why are we farming Air New Zealand's one thing, New Zealand Post is one thing, whichever energy company is one thing, but a farm? And so, but in saying that, the leftist position is never sell anything. His position was, well, I think there's some things you can sell, and I think here they are. So that was still in there. That's still a part of him.
Yeah. And one question here I'd love to know the answer. Didn't Alfred fight a guy?
I don't know. I'll have a look.
That seems to deserve a Google.
Okay.
Maybe that's what New Zealand First needs, like a brawler. Front row man, throwing fisticuffs.
Police clear former National MP Alfred Ngaro of assault. Former National Minister Alfred Ngaro, his wife, hang on, just jumped on me. His wife, his son, his brother, and his nephew have all been cleared of assault. His wife, sheesh, that was a full-on, wasn't it? Assault claims made by a sibling. Cook Island police have revealed. A police spokesman told the Herald no charges were being pursued as there was a lack of evidence. So that's probably what he's talking about. Do you want to answer that last question before we move on?
Yeah, okay. I was going to leave this towards the end, but sure. This is a comment that I'm seeing a lot at the moment, just because there's a lot of conversation about fossil fuels going to an EV. No one's saying that they're not. But fossil fuels go into making a fossil fuel car, and then you keep adding fossil fuels to them. You keep doing it, and that changes over time. And I saw today a nice little graph for that. Actually,
oh, we like a graph.
We love a graph. Just here, the difference between getting a new or secondhand EV. About where that sort of initial investment in materials, because it's a flat line. You make it, you have the car, and then the rest is fueled off electricity. And especially here in New Zealand, where so much of our electrical grid is renewable, or especially if you've got solar panels on the roof and that sort of thing, you are not continuing to add to that fossil fuel ecosystem.
I would say
so
though,
that is the thing.
That graph's not correct, because don't take it anywhere. I'm just going to go full screen so I can see it a bit more clearly. The car in the bottom left, which is on the red line, doesn't that say it starts at 0? Because it's right in the bottom left-hand corner. It's not going to start in 0. Scroll down.
Hang on, I'm just trying to.
Yeah, there we go. Because it wouldn't start at 0, because as you've just said, there's going to be fossil fuels going into that red used car, or unless they're talking about those ones that have already been paid for and you're buying it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I don't think they're starting that at 0 from the looks of it. So you've got bottom axes years starting at 1, and then here it looks like they're starting that up axis at 2.
But if they're also going a used combustion engine vehicle gets to start in that bottom left-hand corner, because obviously what's happened is they're buying it used, so it's not new, which means the building of it's already happened with the previous owner. Then that should also be where second-hand EVs start, because the emissions have already been quote unquote paid for or contributed to the previous owner. So yeah, I don't know about that, but I think the point you made is perfectly valid, which is every vehicle to make takes emissions, fuel to manufacture. One set of vehicles, basically then stops after that. The rest keep on doing it. So, and there's a crossover.
So I don't think anybody out there is saying the production of something like a personal vehicle like this, it's not made of grass. Like there is manufacturing that goes into it, mining the materials, manufacturing the thing. You know, there is a cost. As that other slide said, there is a carbon debt to that device.
Yeah, so this is even clearer. See what I'm saying? They're saying the new vehicle uses 5.7, I guess it's tons of carbon emission, but the used red car uses 0. So therefore, because it's already been built, therefore a second-hand EV should also start on 0, and it would only be 2.8 or 2.5. You know what I'm saying? So if they're saying a second-hand petrol car doesn't have to quote unquote pay for, have the thing for the manufacturing emissions, which it says there, then a second-hand EV also shouldn't have to take credit for the manufacturing emissions. So it's a little. I think it's actually better than that. But,
okay, I've offended people with this graphic that I found, and I apologise. But the truth remains. Whether there's fossil fuels that go into the production and shipping of a car, it doesn't continue.
All right.
Is the argument
let's get to the last story of this. It's not really a story, it's more Chewy. I think you'll like this one. It's like I said earlier in the show, Rodney Hyde, if nothing else, is fairly consistent. He keeps his position fairly consistency, even though that position many times might be pretty horrific. So he's on this show. I think this happens on a Monday night, run by Straight Families First. And he was asked about Christopher Luxon. And just so I wanted to show you a little bit about his position as calling balls and strikes as he sees it, have a listen for about 60, 70 seconds as to what Rodney Hyde thinks of Christopher Luxon. Oh, that would be muted. I'm not sure why.
I just want to say real quickly, I hate all of these people instantly.
Sure,
just like
no
a
problems.
visceral.
Oh, no problem. You're allowed to do that. Okay, we'll just put a play. There'll be a second or two missed, but let's have a listen.
I think it's tragic. National give us no reason to vote for them. Luxon gives us no reason to support him.
Yeah.
Winston does. We get a clear sense of what Winston stands for.
What
We're talking about Alfred, but clearly he's picking up the Conservative vote, and good on him. He knows how to play politics. Luxon is a klux. He is just politically inept. And for some reason, the National Party has completely abandoned its conservative tradition, its conservative policies, and its conservative MPs. And so they will drop below 30. I'd be surprised at the next election if they got 25, and I'd be dumbfounded if Winston wasn't north of 15. There's such a gap in the market for Winston to season. But most worrying for the government is the right direction and wrong direction, because political parties, a lot of that depends on,
This was the RNZ Reid Research poll that they're talking about at the moment. So the right, wrong direction there on the graph.
Who's been in the news in the past 7 days. But the right direction and the wrong direction is an indication of what people are going to do at this coming election. Are they going to vote for a change, or are they going to vote to keep the government? That tells me they're going to vote for a change.
Right. So there's a bit about Rodney Hyde, who he is, what he thinks. I guess if he was in America, he'd be a never Trumper. He'd be that kind of person. So there's another person on this panel that Chewy doesn't like any of these people, Sheree, but I wanted to show you, and I think Chewy...
The woman sitting on a throne?
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. Her name is Mel Taylor. She has run for Parliament before, got 180 votes out of 40,000, that kind of stuff when she was trying to get into Parliament. If people want to participate in the democratic process, let's not give them too much grief about it. So what a lot of people on the right, especially the religious right, and that's who these people all are, or pretty much all are now, is they like to paint the left as ungodly, as satanic, as against all these things. But Rodney Hyde who does call balls and strikes as he sees it, doesn't allow Mel to get away with talking about stuff that he thinks is not just a characteristic of the left. So let me play this for you. I'm actually going to cut this up because there's like about a minute in the middle which doesn't talk about it. But I wanted you to hear, now trigger warning, I guess. She's going to talk about abortion and stuff now. Christian, conservative, right. It's part of their mantra. And then I'm going to let Rodney Hyde have a bit of a crack at it to bring some perspective to this group.
I really don't take a lot of notice. I didn't.
Oh, by the way, they're talking about the Chris Hipkin situation and his private life. That's what they're talking about.
First of all, I didn't know he had children. It shows how naive I am or uninterested. When I heard that he had a partner called Tony, I did wonder if it was male or female. But I think you've only got to look at the policies of the party as well to judge a character on what they're like. Look at their abortion laws. I mean, look at their abortion policies. It's just so radicalised, which, it puts things into perspective about how they feel about woman and family and the right to life. And
so you got it. The left is the devil, right? The left is the devil. Rodney Hyde takes over the show and speaks to this contributor, Mel, and points out that actually that's not a leftist position. That's an all parties position. And it causes quite a bit of awkwardness to a point eventually where the host of the show, whose name is Bob McCoskrie, basically has to stop him from talking to move on.
And take over Bob's job. How does National Party's policy on abortion differ from Labor's?
What was that? Labor, he was there when Labor bought out the full-term abortion laws. So he would have been part of that policy creation.
National agree with it, right?
But they didn't introduce it. They weren't on the bandwagon to say, right, this is what we want to do.
So National agree with it and voted for it, but Labor bad.
The laws we want to change. And that goes through a lot of their other policies
Chris Luxon,
as well.
I mean, I'm very serious about this. Chris Luxon at the last election absolutely ruled out changing it. So he agrees with it.
Not as openly as the left look to agree with it. Like if you look at the Labor voters...
I think you're being...
Well, in defence of Mel, National didn't campaign
because Mel is looking like a complete goose at the moment
on it, but they voted for it.
Yeah,
I mean, I agree. There's not a big difference, but the fact of the matter is, if Winston hadn't put Jacinda into power in 2017, we wouldn't have had that abortion law in 2020. Is my view, because Bill English would have been Prime Minister, and he would never have let that law through. So I know what you're saying, Rodney. There's not a lot of difference between the two parties. You just have to look at the vote. But that's the thing with the Conservative Party. They never set out to social engineer like left-wing parties like Jacinda Ardern.
Bob's
and
left
Clark.
now. He's left the conversation.
But the problem for us is that when these right-wing parties get into power, they don't fix anything. They just sit back. They're conservative by name and conservative by nature, unless you've got a few firebrands like Simon and Alfred and Simeon and a few others, but they're getting slowly squeezed out of the party. Someone who does
crazy, and that conversation is now over. So when we say cooked, Rodney Hyde,
that was a cooking show.
Well, like him or love him, or like him or love him or hate him, he in the middle of a show that he's a part of. And I've never heard Rodney Hyde before, and I've interviewed him numerous times, talk about a sort of faith-based position, like some of the words he used in this, which makes it very clear he is an active churchgoer. Absolutely embarrassed, took apart, showed the hypocrisy, showed the thinness of the argument as well of the conservative Christian right via that commentator Mel Taylor, and Bob had to come in and save her. And this is my picture, Chewy.
Jesus.
Literally.
That's like I know Bob McCoxkin has some fucking cooked views and some cooked supporters, but to see them in the wild like that, talking amongst themselves like they represent a large chunk of the population and they're the only ones that can see it, that's literally frightening.
Yeah, it's. I mean, like, and you know,
I don't interact like when you talk about echo chambers and that sort of thing. I don't have conversations with people like that. There is nobody like that even near my circle.
I've got lots of people like that. Maybe not in my circle, but once removed, the outer octagon rather than in the octagon, and it was just for me. I just found that kind of gratifying that Rodney Hyde, if nothing else, stayed consistent. Because staying consistent is vitally important, because hypocrisy gets shown up, and that's we're talking earlier about basically defeating your argument based on who you are rather than your argument. Hypocrisy is the thing that'll cause you to have your argument cancelled. Right? Actually saying, well, you don't stand by these things because you said the opposite yesterday. And so I do appreciate that Rodney Hyde stuck by the consistency in this one conversation. Every dog has his day. A broken clock is right twice a day. And it showed the foolish nature of the ideology that says things like Labor bad or left bad abortion or left bad same-sex marriage, because this is the Christian worldview for many, as opposed to, you know, whatever your rational reason is for saying the policy is bad, other than just going left bad, and then Rodney Hyde goes, but Luxon supports it, and then having an ibbity moment, and then they have to move on. So I did appreciate it.
I think that comes from the fact that obviously Rodney Hyde is the only person in that group that has any experience of Parliament.
No, the guy on the bottom left was a former national MP. I can't remember his name right now. Simon, I don't know what his name is. Doesn't really matter.
Okay. Well, we didn't hear from him, so
no.
You know.
And there's Christine Rankin was in that as well. She's had some.
Christine Rankin.
Yeah. So they've all
short skirt, long jacket, big earrings.
And so probably actually the person, I don't know her or of her, but Mel Taylor is the furthest from any of that, because even though Bob he's a former Rima radio host, and he's been around those kind of news conversations a lot. And obviously two of them were in Parliament. Christine Rankin, I don't know if she was ever in Parliament, but I think she was on the Auckland City Council, and she's certainly been in a high profile public servant positions. I think she was the head of WINS, wasn't she? So they've all got experience.
She did some horrible stuff there as well. Hey, I'm just fact checking with you, Pat. Have we ever had a guest on that's forgotten to put their teeth in?
Only when we show Trump, but he's not really on. He's just, you know, sometimes he does.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Good. Let's keep that up. Let's just make sure all of our guests have teeth.
There you go. It's Simon O'Connor. Thank you, Paul, the smartest man in the room, who lost his seat to Brooke van Velden. A full circle moment for the show. So that's who it is. Simon O'Connor. So who is now working for family. Sorry, I got that wrong. That'll be embarrassing. For Straight Families First. Doing podcasting and stuff. And I'm not going to throw shade at podcasts. Because, you know, people throw shade at us, and because we are one. So that's what they do, and that's how they do it.
Hey, here's a question for you, Pat, right? Because they were talking about abortion, and if Bill English was the Prime Minister, the law wouldn't have gone through. Do you believe that? Like, I know Bill English was anti-abortion because he's Catholic and that sort of thing.
I think the law they're talking about, because they always talk about full-term abortions. Yep. I think the law they're taking is just stopping abortions being made legal. Like, because up until very recently, it was still technically criminal to have an abortion unless you fitted these criterias, which were all kind of nonsense, because any doctor would say, yes, you fit that criteria. So that's what I think Labor did. They got rid of that hoop to jump through. And that probably wouldn't have happened under Bill English. No, I don't think so. I think they're correct. Unless it was a private member's bill that got pulled out of the cake tin and it was conscious choice, maybe. But I don't think certainly Bill English, as you say, being Catholic, and National in general would be behind it.
Yeah, so I guess the line I want to draw here is you had Luxon sort of go, I believe abortion is murder.
Tantamount to murder is the quote.
Tantamount to murder, and then do nothing about it.
Which means he's accepting murder. That's what they're saying. They're saying, therefore, he's saying murder's okay, according to his definition, not ours.
I think that is one of the few times that he's probably listened to someone and realised that touching this is political suicide, no matter what his personal beliefs are. So he's gone, my personal beliefs, put them in a box over here. And I guess the point would be, would Bill English have done the same thing? Or gone, no, it's my personal beliefs and I can't bring myself to fucking do this.
Well, the difference is, and I'll check this, or someone in the chat fact check me straight away, is I think it was a policy put forward by Labor. And so I don't think that National, if they were in government, would have put that forward. Now, I'm pretty sure that's the case. So yeah, I don't think it even would have been a conversation, because
they would have gone, look, the system's working okay how it is. There's no reason for us to change anything.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I think that's factually correct, that it wouldn't have happened under Bill English. And
I guess the other question I have out of this, right, is because we've circled around this a little bit with this story. Do you think, I guess, religious people are overrepresented in Parliament?
I think they're certainly overrepresented in the right. 100% overrepresented. Now, but there's probably two kinds of religious people on the right. There's the ones who are religious, who like there's research around the world that talks about a person of faith, be they Christian or Muslim or Jewish, or there's a headline, right, for how many people in the country. But the reality is, for all of those headlines, if you then go who attend their local synagogue, church, whatever it is, on a weekly basis, and like who is an active participant, that drops way down. I think in New Zealand, for like regular church attending kind of people of a Christian faith, I once read it was like 5%, although the country might be 40% Christian. Like, I was brought up Catholic, right? And being Catholic's like being in the mafia. You can't get out of it if you want to. Like, I was on talkback on ZB as a 35-year-old. I hadn't set foot basically inside a Catholic church for 20 plus years, and people would phone me up and go, yeah, but you're a Catholic, hey? It's like, well, I mean, no, but I was raised. So there's those kinds of sort of cultural religious people. Like you know, like you talk about what's his name, Ant-Man, who's Jewish, and there's a very funny line when he is talking to Between Two Ferns, that show, and the host, whose name I'm forgetting right now, and Ant-Man, whose name I'm forgetting right now, Zach Galifianakis, and Ant-Man is.
It's gone. Chat, help me.
Zach Galifianakis says, Paul Rudd. Thank you, Arvids.
Thank you, Arvids.
So Zach Galifianakis says to Paul Rudd, what advice do you have to a young actor who's Jewish on how best hide their Jewishness? It's a joke, but that's a reality. I imagine Paul Rudd eats pork because he would be a cultural Jew, as in he was raised it, his family's it, but it seems like, I don't know his life, but it seems like he's not a practicing Jew. So that's the difference as well. There are cultural Christians. If you basically grow up in a Spanish-speaking country, you are Catholic. You are culturally Catholic. That doesn't mean you adhere to the Catholic faith or go to the church. So when you ask that question, are we overrepresented? It depends what you mean. Coming right back to your question, I would think both cultural Christians are overrepresented in the right, but actual active Christians would be as well. Ones who are actively participating in a faith on a daily, weekly, monthly basis are also overrepresented because it's more than 5%.
Gotcha. Cool.
Is that all right? Are you interviewing me now? Is there anything else you want to know? I've all the answers.
No, that covers everything.
All right, Fano. So breaking news. Tomorrow night, I want to see everybody in their merch because the Queen's going to be here and we need to be dressed appropriately, which is, of course, Chloe will be in the house. talking about a policy which is coming out tomorrow. I also think will be other things to talk about. It seems that both Chloe and Marama and the Greens in general are pretty annoyed with a bunch of stuff going on at the moment. I'm sure we'll touch on those, but that will be happening tomorrow night from 9 p.m. Is there anything else that we want to get to? There's a few starred there. Have they been done, or do they need to be done?
We've done that one. Detectives Rogers, who was, by the way, very mean to me about that graph.
Oh, ban him.
That'll be remembered. Straight talk, type X in the chat to doubt. Hammer that X key. Ngaro punched a teacher. Was what it was in 2013. Okay. This is referring to the woman that was sitting in a casual, everyday throne for a podcast. That woman has a basket of poison apples.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Here we go. I've got a follow up for you.
Yeah.
Are you done with this? Done with the chats? You can do chats first.
Not quite. For Chewy, here's $2 for correctly, proudly pronouncing graph.
Oh my God.
It's graph, not graph. Hated
graph.
That. And there's a question for both of us. Thoughts on the Fisheries Amendment Bill? Look, it's Shane Jones being bribed. The idea of saying we're going to decimate future fisheries because it's easier, and because apparently the answer is if we don't let them do that, then the boats are just going to keep dumping their catch until they get the right one. I think both things are bad and wrong.
My turn?
Your turn.
My turn. We're just talking about, Christian faith and how important it is, and Jesus loves everyone.
Oh, holy shit!
Yada yada.
What?
Okay, let's read this out to the whānau.
Oh, please, let's read this out.
I think this is all alleged. The headline from Ian Stewart and stuff.co.nz from 2013 is "Punched for Not Praying." National Party MP Alfred Ngaro allegedly punched an atheist teacher at his son's school for not bowing his head during a prayer. Ngaro, a List MP and former chairman of the Tamaki College Board of Trustees, was last week dragged into the Employment Relations Authority dispute between Tamaki College and a former art teacher, Christopher Scott Roy. Roy claims he was constructively dismissed because he was an atheist. For people who don't know what that is, it's basically your job is made untenable for you to do. The conditions and terms around your job are made so bad that you're basically being forced to quit, but they're not firing you. So that's a constructive dismissal, if anyone didn't know that already. And Tamaki College saw Christianity as, quote, a core responsibility to which he was indifferent. Roy added a new allegation to his employment claim, telling ERA member Tanya it's going to be Te Taha, that in 2009 he was assaulted by Ngaro as he was leaving a first 15 rugby aftermatch function at King's College. I'm going to say this again very clearly, mostly for you, Chewy. Alleged. This is being alleged.
No, at the time, words.
Ngaro was a Board of Trustees member. He later entered Parliament in 2011 as an Auckland-based List MP. King's College officials asked if anyone objected to a prayer or karakia being said before they ate. Roy said he did not take part due to his atheism, but rather looked around the room as everyone else bowed their head. Ngaro, whose son was in the Tamaki First 15, came up to him and got, quote, right in my face, end quote, after the prayer. Roy told the ERA hearing, eyeballing him just a few centimetres from his face. Representatives from King College saw the behaviour and asked after his well-being and if he wanted security guards present. Roy said as he went to leave, he was confronted outside by Ngaro, who lashed out at him, punching him on the back of the head.
That's also known as a coward's punch.
Members of the first 15 broke up the fight, Roy told the hearing. I thought what they were going to do, which would have been the perfect New Zealand story, is give the score of the game that the first 15 had just played at the end of it. As an aside,
we need to know if the team won, right?
King's College 24, Sacred Heart College 19. So there you go. Allegations. Doesn't seem that there's any evidence in there. In fact, to be clear, Ngaro categorically denied the assault.
So then what did the first 15 break up?
Allegedly. Another staff member told him, "You're just a fucking dick and keep your fucking bullshit to yourself." Yeah, interesting.
That sounds very Christian.
So there's the allegation. It's funny how sometimes
it's old school Christian. Convert or die.
The Christian people are particularly poor imitations of this character they're supposed to be following. It's weird that, eh?
Like it's like I've been around things, like I've been in a church. That's been religious, and that's I
How
know.
dare
And
you.
I didn't catch fire, but it did feel itchy. I was in Scouts. Scouts always starts with a prayer, right?
Yeah.
I've always thought that it would be more disrespectful to pretend to be praying than just stand there and wait for people that were praying.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to, I'll just do the motions of your religion. I don't believe it's a crock of shit, but, I'm just going to ape what you're doing out of respect. That doesn't sound like respect to me.
Hey, thanks for being with us tonight, Whānau. In case we haven't told you yet, Chloe's in tomorrow night. We also possibly have Francesca Fiorentieri with us on Thursday night. That offer is out there. That's been accepted, but we haven't quite connected with what time we're going to catch up. So I'm hoping that's going to be Thursday night. And then, of course, it's the weekend. And I'm assuming there's no public holidays on Monday for us not to know about, but, whatever. And that's us for another night. Okay, what you're just taking my screen off. What's going on? What's happening?
I got one thing. This is for our Dunedin-based family. So 29th of March in the Octagon, there's a letter writing workshop about the move on orders. I believe there are other events happening elsewhere in the country. Look for your own Facebook groups and that sort of thing. I think there's quite a big one happening in Auckland. So if you're looking for some homework, here's one that you would be doing with others. So that's this Sunday, 11 to 1 p.m. in the Octagon. I believe there's other Green Party related activities as part of that as well.
Green Party? Aren't they all lunatics?
Yeah. The green means go. So you should go to the Octagon, 29th of March, 11 till 1.
All right, Whānau, thank you for being with us tonight. Love you to bits. Hugs and kisses on all your pink bits. And we will catch you tomorrow night.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have the hand out for rewards, while the many have to work at what they can't afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a warpath to run, linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All have a lean either this way or that, and will be analyzed by what you impact. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
All right, Joey, that's me. I'm done. I'm heading off. I'm going to try and do some work tonight just for a bit of fun.
Yes, I'm also going straight to bed.
I don't like that comment, by the way. But, off we go.
Thanks,
All right,
Daddy
team.
Pat.
We'll catch you tomorrow night from 9 p.m. for the next edition of Big Hairy News. Hooroo!
Who's that? See you later, fam.